Hey, this is Mr. Warden. I've been asked, what sort of equation am I using in some of the later slides, slide 5 and slide 4, for the Laser Cannon Battle Commander for linear level 5A? And also, how do I make the line shorter, especially in slide 4? So let's start off with a couple of shots from slide 5. It's the same equation. It's y equals mx plus b. You'll know what B is when you decide which one of these blue dots is your ship that you're shooting from. That's your laser cannon or platform, Earth Defense Station. So if I picked, let's say I picked 0, -4, then my y-intercept is -4, and I can just change that to -4. And then I just need to work out what is going to be my slope. What is going to be my slope from 0, -4 to wherever I'm targeting. Right now, this is just, when I got rid of that m, it leaves a 1, so it's just got a slope of 1. But I don't want a slope of 1. I want a slope that would go through this point and say that one. So I need to create my slope equation. So here we go. I'm going to have a change of y over a change of x. So this is going to be a subtraction problem. Let's say I'm going from 0, -4 to 6, -7. My change of y would be -4 minus -7. And if you don't like saying -7, you can change that to +7. Then my change of x, since that's 0, -4, and that's 6, -7, I start with the 0 from 0, -4, and I subtract 6. And now I have a line that goes through those. Now I can tidy that up, of course. That becomes a -6. This becomes a +3. And 3 over -6 is, of course, -1/2. And I need to make it fancy. I'll shorten my line. So I use the fancy brackets, which is shift square bracket, which is right next to the letter P. And I make that little bracket. And then I've got to decide, am I making an inequality that's for the x's, or am I making an inequality that's for the y's? Well, the x's are from 0 and 6. The y's are -4 and -7. I'll do it both ways. So 0 is less, I'll do for the x's, less than or equal to x is less than or equal to 6. That worked. Okay. And now I'm going to change that to for y's. So I'll put a y in the middle. Okay. And if I do it less than or equal here and less than or equal here, I just got to figure out what's the low end of that set of y values. That's the y value here is -4. The y value here is -7. So -7 is the low end. And -4 is the high end. And that works too. And I'll pick a target to shoot up here. I'll shoot this one here. -312. So I'm going to copy this equation. And it's going to be a different inequality. I'm going to get rid of that for right now. It's still a y-intercept of -4. Okay, since I've got a fraction now, I can just do this. Okay, so my numerator, if I'm going to -312, my numerator would be 12 and -4. My y values are 12 and -4. So it doesn't matter which one I start from. I'm going to start with 12, y of 12, and in my subtraction with a y of -4. So it's going to be 12 minus -4. Okay. And that, of course, becomes +16, but I'll fix that in a second. And then an x value of 3, here. I'm sorry, -3. So I've got -3 there. So I'm going to say -3 for the x minus 0 for the x and 0, -4. Okay, and you can see here, this is the -312, and this is the 0, -4. I'll simplify that. That's just -3. That's 16. Of course, I can move that negative out here, and that's what you've got. And I do not think you should turn this into an improper fraction, and you definitely should not turn that into a rounded decimal. If you turn that into a rounded decimal, you'll actually miss the shot. Now you just make your line shorter. So this is negative 312, and that's 0, negative 4. If you're using the x, you're going from negative 3 to 0. Okay, because those are the x values and these points. If you're using the y, then we're going to change that to y. And then you got to work out what's the high end and what's the low end. Well, the low end between 0, negative 4 and negative 312 is 0. I'm sorry, what am I saying? Negative 4. Negative 4 is the y value. And the high end of that is 12. And there you go. You've made your shot fancy, and the line is shorter. Now let's take a look on slide 4, since I was being asked about that. I think it's a similar thing. Most common mistake when making the line shorter here is not paying attention to the direction or flow of the inequality. I'll pick 0, 12 as my y-intercept, so it's going to be y equals mx plus 12. Okay, and then I got to work out my slopes. I will shoot negative 14, negative 15. So 12 is my y value up there. So I'll say 12 minus, and my y value at this point is negative 15. 12 minus negative 15. And if you prefer to call that 12 plus 15, that is totally fine. And then the x value is 0. And I'm going to be subtracting the x value here from the x value here. So that's negative 14. So minus negative 14. And if you don't like subtracting a negative, you can, of course, make that plus. Like I said up here, you can make that plus because minus is the same as plus. All right, so this denominator is just 14. And this numerator is 27. So 27 is the numerator. And so your slope is 27 over 14. I just leave it like that. And then there's the question of how do you make your interval, which is what we're doing, and we're making it fancy. You make an inequality that represents either the horizontal domain that's used or the vertical range that's used. So I'll start with a domain, okay? And so I know that my x values are negative 14 and 0. So what people will sometimes do is this. 0 is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to negative 14. And you might notice nothing happened. There's nothing showing up. Well, that's because this is a silly inequality. This says 0 is less than negative 14, which is just not true. So just your inequality is flowing the wrong way. So we're going to change that to a 0 and change that to a negative 14. And now it flows in the right way. So you got to pay attention to what's the low end and what's the high end of your inequality. X will be in the middle if you're dealing with x, and the low end and the high end. Now you could, of course, done it this way. You could say 0, and you change that to make that actually 0, not negative 0, because there's no such thing, is greater than or equal to x. And then you go over here and say negative 14n. And once again, nothing that you wanted is happening, and that's because your inequality doesn't even agree with itself. 0 is greater than or equal to x and is less than or equal to negative 14, and so it just goes, what? And so you want to keep those inequalities flowing in the same direction, and now it works. If you wanted to use y, one end of the y values is 12, and the other end of the y values is negative 15. So if I've got my inequalities being greater than and greater than, we change that to y. We'll change that to the high end was 12, and the low end was negative 15, and that works as well. All right, I hope that has given you something to work with, and I will stop the video.